A wild weekend on the campaign trail as Donald Trump's rallies turn into chaos. Violence breaking out at several venues, including in Chicago, where he was forced to cancel an event due to security concerns. The GOP frontrunner is dismissing critics who say he is to blame for the clashes.
I have by far the biggest crowds, 30,000 people. Last week we had in Alabama 35,000 people. And out of that, we'll have some disruptors, sometimes put there by other people. And nobody's been hurt at all. And as big as these rallies are, nobody's ever been hurt. And I will tell you, some of the protesters are very rough, and they're bad dudes, and they swing and they punch, and nobody ever talks about that in the media. We have a big portion of this country that's fed up. We have a president that doesn't have a clue. He doesn't know what's going on. And the people of this country are angry. They're not angry people, but they're angry now.
Well, Trump's Republican rivals don't buy his explanation for the violent protesters. His fellow contenders accuse him of fanning the flames.
Donald Trump, on a regular basis, incites his crowds. There are people out there that listen to this stuff, and we don't know how they're going to react. And he keeps putting this stuff out there. We're going to have an ugly scene here. We already have seen these ugly scenes.
It is not beneficial when you have a presidential candidate like Donald Trump telling his supporters, punch that guy in the face. I think every candidate ought to aspire towards civility, towards decency, towards bringing us together. I don't think we should be using angry and hateful rhetoric.
He's done a lot of name calling, and he's created a very toxic atmosphere where he's, you know, look, I mean, just where you want to start with immigration? Do you want to start with the things that he has said, you know, about Muslims? I mean, where does it end?
Okay, so obviously a lot of discussion about this. This news broke on, Friday night with respect to the Chicago rally and that being shut down, and the protesters, and some call them disruptors, that were there to shut down that free speech, Eric. So what are your thoughts as this has developed over the weekend?
Well, I mean, protest is protected speech, but they're not allowed to do what they did on Friday night. They shouldn't go into, or they can't go into an arena that was paid for, rented by a group, and then shut down free speech. That's impinging on Donald Trump and the pro-Trump people's right to free speech. So they've gone from protests, I don't know, a nonviolent protest to, they changed the rules. They went inside, and that would be, I would say they would be inciting the violence by going inside and doing what they did, shutting down the free speech. It's disrupting the peace, and I think that's a crime. If I'm not mistaken, that's a crime. But blaming Donald Trump for violence that occurs at or outside one of his speeches is like blaming, the old blame the girl if she's wearing too short of a dress for the rape. But how is it her fault if she's doing something that does something to someone else? How is it Donald Trump's fault if there's a protest and two people get into it outside a protest? I think it's the same thing.
How's it a protester's fault if they get clocked in the face by a sucker punch?
I think that is completely wrong.
Okay, well, that's a protest. Wrong. That was a Donald Trump guy, and then Donald Trump says, I want to pay for this guy's legal bills.
Kimberly mentioned Chicago Friday night. You want to stay in Chicago Friday night?
No, we're talking generally.
That was right?
No, listen, I think that there's nothing on the ticket that says you cannot have a different point of view than Donald Trump if you come into this venue.
No, but there was MoveOn.org did raise money on it. They also allegedly handed out a list of what to look for, how to act inside a protest to disrupt. I mean, protest is one thing.
And there's more of that in your block,
but
Eric,
disrupting I think it's a crime.
Well, if it's disturbing the peace, or if there's assaultive conduct or a battery or other things like that happen, of course it jumps into the legal venue in terms of whether or not someone should be prosecuted, etc. Dana, let's get your take on this.
Well, so I was at a restaurant on Friday night waiting for a table, and I was watching the scene unfold on the television that was there, and these three younger people were sitting not with me, but just next to me, and I could overhear their conversation. And it was interesting to get their take because they agreed that the protesters should not have gone in like that, but they also said that they expect to see a lot more of it. I hope that's not true. I think this is unnecessary, it's unfortunate, it's unworthy of our democracy, and it's extremely unattractive because on both sides, it does not draw me in at all. James Taranto, the Wall Street Journal, had a good point today where he said, maybe so Trump didn't start the fire at this particular Chicago protest, but fanning the flames is a problem. On Sunday, when he said, we've never had anybody hurt, this is coming off of right after what Juan was talking about, where the young African-American man who's there as a protester in North Carolina, I believe, flips the bird to the crowd as he's leaving, and then he gets sucker punched. And then on Sunday, Donald Trump says that he's considering looking into paying for that man's legal bills. That, to me, is fanning the flames. Absolutely inappropriate.
Especially when he said afterwards, I'm going to kill him next time. So I would say to add this, my weekend Friday night, you know I love to go clubbing on Friday night. I just wanted to forget about politics for a second. What could have happened on a Friday night? Next thing you know, this huge news, no commercials. Oh, there you go. Next thing you know, this huge thing happening. And it turns out it's the riot that never happened, excuse me, the rally that never happened. I would say this. I don't care if you vote for Donald Trump or not. If they had a problem within his fanship with other fans fighting each other because of what he said, then Donald Trump, you know what? You got to change your rhetoric, change the teleprompter as if you had one. But these are guys coming into an area to disrupt. And my analogy, and I hope it works, is this. If I'm a New York Yankee fan and I walk into a Boston Red Sox bar with a Yankee hat on, I'm screaming for the Yankees, I'm pointing in this guy's face, I'm going to get my head kicked in. Is it right? No. But in reality, I'm there where I don't belong, getting a guy's face who just wants to watch a game on their own team. I am agitating. So what do you expect? Why did they go, Juan? They went there to cause havoc. And they reached their goal.
No, I think that's quite expressed, Brian, that they said they went there to protest Donald Trump. They feel that what Donald Trump is saying, what he's doing,
how do they think they're going to be received, Juan?
Wait, hold on,
how
Brian,
would you be received, though? If you came out yelling at an event for Eric Bolling, and you were supporting Eric Bolling.
I sit next to Eric every day. Eric and I often have disagreements. I do not expect Eric to physically attack me or tell me to shut up. I know he and I have disagreements, but we're friends. We talk all the time. Okay, it's not. That doesn't mean that there has to. That I should be saying to people, oh, you know, every time I'm mad at Eric, expect me to physically express it. That's wrong.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what Trump is saying. In the old days, we would get that guy out of here. These days, we're so PC that we take care not to hurt these guys. And in the old days, we just punched this guy out. That's what he says. I'm not making this up.
No, you're right. And then you could judge whether you want to vote for Donald Trump because how he handles these situations, vote for him or don't vote for him. But when you come in there just to agitate, you saw these guys between 21 and 25 years old. Are they there to meet people and to learn what the other side has to say? Or are they there just to create havoc?
I think to protest, but you have to peacefully protest. These weren't peaceful protests. These were disruptive. They were paid. In some cases, they were paid to protest.
You know,
That's not peaceful protest.
No, I think you're putting a gloss on this. The guy that was being let out, he was a peaceful protester in North Carolina.
Can we talk about the Chicago
Okay, let's go to Chicago.
Can we talk about what happened all weekend long at Trump events?
Eric, I'm just saying, here's the entire universe.
The guy who jumped over the barricade and tried to attack the stage in Ohio?
He said he wanted to run up on the stage. He is totally wrong. But if you're asking me, does that then justify people becoming violent?
No one said that. Did anyone say? I didn't. Brian didn't either.
No one's condoning violence.
Right. The point is you can't gloss over it to say, I mean, there's issues on both sides of it. But nevertheless, you want to have some civility. You want people to be able to listen to their candidate, whether it's at a Bernie Sanders rally or Hillary Clinton, et cetera. And if the role was reversed, then, you know, what, there would be an outcry about it. And the point is there's a way to do things in a peaceful, civil way that respects other people's viewpoints and allows them to go to listen, to make informed decisions.
And so these young people in Chicago, Eric keeps saying, let's talk about Chicago. This is a Facebook thing where young people say we oppose the message being delivered by Donald Trump. We find it divisive. We find it ugly. We find it anti-immigrant, anti-woman, anti-black.
Westboro Baptist Church protests military funerals, right?
Oh, yeah.
They protest. They're despicable. They're disgusting. But they do it, and they're protected. Free speech. There's an area where they have to stay.
Right.
They don't jump into the middle of the funeral home, do they?
No.
Well, there's the difference, Juan. I'm saying
that's
yes,
legal.
And so is what they were doing
in
in Chicago.
There's nothing illegal about going into buying a ticket and going into the arena.
No. Disrupting, going in, buying the ticket to go in to disrupt for the purpose of disrupting. Yes,
buying the ticket to protest, Eric, to stand up and say or shout, I think that what you're saying, Mr. Trump, is wrong and divides our country.
Yeah, but you don't have to shut down an event or, you know, create a security situation. I know, but you know what? I just think it's very naive of you and not very honest to sit there and just blame him and not to see what the people are doing too that are also being violent and not being good at these events. It's not okay. I think there's room to analyze on both sides of this that it could be improved. And let me tell you something, whether or not he's the nominee or not, wait and see that there's still going to be protesters regardless of who the GOP
I think it's
nominee
very
is.
honest
Wait
to
and
say that when you hear someone delivering a divisive message that endangers our country, that you stand up and say, you know what, as an American, I do not think what you're saying is good and right. And if you do it in a peaceful manner, you have every right to
And they didn't do that.
That's the
They did. They did. They did it.
You're watching
That was
different
peaceful?
video.
It wasn't
let's talk
peaceful
about
because
Ben
of the
Carson.
response from the other side.
It never came
Right.
off. The event never came off on Friday, and Saturday the guy rushed the podium.
Right.
So
And somebody else grabbed him from behind. Whatever. The point is, it's not nice. It's not good. They shouldn't do it to Hillary Clinton. They shouldn't do it to Bernie Sanders. They shouldn't do it to anybody
They're doing
running.
it to
They did it to Bernie Sanders. They did it like 2 months ago.
Let's hit this
Black
about
Lives
Ben
Matter.
Carson, okay? That could put you in a good mood, won't it, Juan? Could the violence actually get worse, right? So Ben Carson, who endorsed Donald Trump last week, believes that it could.
I think certainly if the protesters continue with their Alinskyite tactics, there is a real possibility of escalation because those who are the victims of them have two choices. They can submit to them and meekly just do whatever those protesters want them to do, or they can fight back. And if they decide to fight back, there could be an escalation.
All right, Dana, what about a possibility of escalation here?
I certainly hope not, and I would hope that the leaders who are being asked about this agree and would advise and ask their people not to retaliate in kind. The other thing is we haven't mentioned, and I'm not blaming the security forces, but that there was a problem in Chicago in particular of the protesters that meant for disruption getting around the gate. So now if we know that they're going to be up to this, then you have to figure out a way. And it might be a lot more expensive, but there's got to be more security for people on both sides.
Very good point, Brian.
He dominated the media afterwards. He was on for our show for a half hour, went to another network for a half hour, went back to Sean Hannity at 10 o'clock. So he dominated Saturday. And guess what? Every candidate talked about Donald Trump. And guess what happened Sunday on all the network shows? It was all about Donald Trump, the reaction, where we go from here. I'm very curious how it affects Tuesday.
Yeah, and Friday he was on with Greta, with Hannity. You know, but I mean, come on and talk about it, and then hopefully there's something to learn and move forward.
Can I just point out something as well? Juan, you can attest to this. He went to the University of Illinois, Chicago. Probably one of the most liberal bastions in the country, if not the most liberal. Bill Ayers is in the area. I mean, he went into an area of...
He's an emeritus professor.
Who is? Oh, Bill Ayers. Yeah, no. My point is, he went into the unfriendliest of confines. He's the only one doing that. He's the only one going in areas where he's going to be the complete outsider. He's going to be verbally attacked.
He was simply renting the arena, and it was there.
He could do it. Here's why.
No, let me just say.
The next day, he was in Bloomington, Illinois, about 50 miles south of Chicago.
Right.
Nothing.
Well, I'm just saying these young people at that school organized. It's not to be blamed on Bernie Sanders or MoveOn.org. There's young people who felt, you know what, this is a divisive, ugly message, and we want to speak against it. And the final point I'd make is this. I'm sort of surprised at all of you, because when I listen to the other Republicans who are running for president, when I listen to Rubio, when I listen to Cruz, when I listen to Kasich, they are saying something's wrong here. The atmosphere is poisonous. And in fact, they say it's cancerous at some point. It's a circus.
I know, but you know what? What else do you expect them to say? They want to be the nominee, and they're, of course,
you think they're not speaking the truth?
I think they're going to make comments that are going to be derisive against Donald Trump, for sure. That's how politics is.
I think they are.
They're not going to say it's so great, we're going to support, and he has no...
people who are concerned about our country.
I'm just telling you, let's
And they're not just speaking for themselves.